Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel, and as you can see, I've got the tie on, the little Tyranitar pin, we've got the Top Hollow music playing in the background. You all know what that means. It is time for some more Pokemon Sleep news. Now, this news comes to us in the form of traditional Pokemon Sleep news. We got the big old image here, because we got a new event coming around. Well, a new old event. They modified it a little bit, they actually kind of nerfed it in my opinion. But it's happening again, Pack Portions Cooking Week. Now, I also pulled up the news from last time. I wanted to make some speculation as to what the new ingredient might be on, or not new ingredient. We're getting a new Pokemon, if you're going to tell, Spiritomb. It's probably going to be an ingredient specialist, because it's coming with Pack Portions Cooking Week, which usually is a sign that it's going to be an ingredient specialist. Last time, Mawile was an ingredient specialist, despite the event saying that it also had to do with ingredient magnet and ingredient draw. It just ended up being an ingredient Pokemon with ingredient draw, was how it ended up working out. Now, Spiritomb, we don't know the main skill on it yet, but it is going to be boosted during the event. I thought maybe because Mawile was eating Explosion Corn Popcorn, which does contain decent amounts of oil, I thought maybe that was a hint as to what Mawile's ingredient was going to be. But they literally used all the same meals and just changed out the assets for the Pokemon. So I don't think we can make any reasonable assumption off of that. I think it's just coincidence that Mawile was eating a meal that takes oil. So I'm not going to try to make any speculation there. Although it also takes, I believe, milk, I think is the other ingredient, and then corn, because it's popcorn. I think milk is the other one. Either way, I don't think that's really anything we have to concern ourselves with. Let's look at the new Pokemon first. Spiritomb. It's going to be a dark type, and it's going to be at most of the islands. It's most notably missing from Cyan and Top Hollow. It's at Greengrass, Snowdrop, Lapis, and Amber Canyon, and Greengrass Expert Mode. So, pretty common. Dozing type, as is typical for dark types. Now, dark type does mean that it does have particular synergy with Darkrai. So, if you do have a Darkrai-based team, this might be particularly interesting, something to keep your eye out for. I don't know what sort of skill it's going to have. It could be kind of interesting, even though it's probably going to be an ingredient specialist. If it does have some sort of energy recovery main skill, then that might be kind of useful for Darkrai teams. But overall, I don't tend to think about Darkrai teams on this channel, because I think that it's something that takes way too long to get a viable one of. But let's hop right into the details of the event. So this is happening the first week of December, December 1st, ending the morning of the 8th. It's going to be everywhere, so you can go to any island. But you're going to want to choose which one based off what your needs are. And the big thing about this event is it makes your cooking insane. Now, you don't necessarily need to run a good camp ticket during this week to get the bigger meal pot, the pot size, to be able to make the strongest meals. Last time, in Pack Portions Cooking Week Part 1 or whatever, they made the pot size 60% larger. This time, they're doubling it. So even if you don't have your pot size max, even if it's at what the old max was, 69 times 2 is 138. So it's still going to be able to make the largest meals in the entire game without even running a good camp ticket for anyone who has their pot size maxed. In fact, the largest meal in the game has 115 ingredients, so you'd only need a pot size of 56 for that. So it doesn't even need to be maxed. It doesn't even need to be maxed for what was possible with Lapis, I believe. I don't remember what the max was back then, but, well, it'd be 69 minus 12. That'd be 57 times 2. So I guess you would need a little bit more than that, just one more than that. So if you're at Old Gold Power Plant, you can make it there, just with the first pot size increase, and make the highest tier meals in the game currently with this 2 times meal space capacity in your pot. So that is pretty insane. They buffed it in that regard. But one thing that I want to draw your attention to is the actual final strength gains from dishes. Multiplied by 1.25 times. Last time this was 1.5 times. Now 1.5 times is a huge boost. For this to step back to 1.25 times is a pretty significant nerf to the event. One that I think is not overcome by the pot size being larger. I think the big thing was last time they didn't see that many people using too many ingredient mons, because ultimately all those extra ingredients, like, you just weren't able to eat all of them, because the Pokemon ingredient specialists are so good at making the ingredients that you just didn't need all the ingredients they were providing. There was a lot more team rotation and probably not that much use for ingredient specialists because you would just get the ingredients you need and then swap them off. But this time around, they're decreasing the amount of strength gains, probably because they thought that increasing the pot size would be more strength. So they neutralize that out by decreasing the actual boost to meal strength. Now, I kind of hope this isn't a precedent for Valentine's, Spring Festival, and Summer Festival, whatever those events are going to be called, because those ones were also 1.5 times, similar to what Volume 1 was. And me personally, I was actually plotting out my future plans, trying to plan out my Master 20 run I'm trying to shoot for Valentine's Day personally, hitting Master 20 at Amber Canyon. That's not going to be possible for me if this is only 1.25 times, because I was assuming a 50% boost. So, we'll only see as time goes on what the future of those other events are, but ultimately Packed Portions is separate and unique from those events, and those events, really the only thing they have is the 1.5 times cooking modifier. This event, it also has the larger pot size. It also has Pokemon recovering extra energy from dishes. It also has the main skill, Ingredient Dragnet, being multiplied by 1.5 times, and ingredient specialists do bring in one extra ingredient every time they find ingredients. So, there's a lot of other boosts on top of it, versus those ones are just the meal strength boosts. So personally, I don't think they're going to nerf those other events as well. I think this is unique to Packed Portions Cooking Week, but only time will tell. So, those are the adjustments and how they modified it from last time. Everything else, from what I saw, was the same. Ingredient Magnet being the effect being multiplied by 1.5 times. Same with Ingredient Draw. 5 additional energy from dishes, which I think is just kind of funny because that's such a minute thing that it doesn't really make that big of an impact, but it's nice. It doesn't hurt anything. It just is more incentive to make sure you're getting your meals in. Meals are going to be very, very important during that week. Pivotal, one might say. It's almost like they're building an entire event around it. But also, not every ingredient specialist is boosted. Now, interestingly, last time, if we look at the list here, it wasn't just ingredient specialists that were boosted. They also had some skill specialists that had ingredient focus skills, like Murkrow and Heracross. But this time around, it is only ingredient specialists. There's not a single thing here that is a skill specialist. They really focus down the ingredient specialist specifically. And notably, Spiritomb is a greater appearance rate. Now, something that is to note about Spiritomb, given that it is a single-stage Pokemon, if they continue with the trends they've always done, then Spiritomb's likely going to take 16 biscuits. This means that most likely, it's not going to be relevant if you're trying to optimize the game. Even if it is really, really good and really, really powerful at what it does, it's still a 16-pip option. And 16-pip options just being that much more expensive and that much more rare than 5-pip options makes it nearly impossible to catch a good enough one to actually invest. It's possible, don't get me wrong, you can stumble into a good one, but generally speaking, it's better to go for a weaker 5-pip variant of whatever it is doing than it is to go for a stronger 16-pip option, just because it is that difficult to hunt for 16-pip options. So, I wouldn't suggest a hunt on Spiritomb with all the data that we currently have, which is still pretty speculative, but I wanted to make note of that. But since it is a 16-pip option, one of the things that make it difficult to find a good variant of it is the fact that it is pretty rare. During this event, it does have a greater appearance rate, so if you do want to hunt it when we actually find out more stats for it, then the best place to probably go for that is probably Lapis, because there are the least amount of boosted spawns there. But Amber Canyon's not a bad option either. And there are some interesting things at Amber Canyon as well, like Kangaskhan, Mawile, and Pumpkaboo, most notably, which does not exist at Lapis Lakeside. And that being new, you might still be looking for that Pumpkaboo. Additionally, Trapinch and Crustle, they're not boosted at all, but you might still be looking for them, and they still could spawn during this week. This is just what's boosted. Now, my guess as to why they didn't boost Trapinch during this week, even though it's a brand new ingredient specialist that everyone's pumped about, is probably because, one, they probably don't want us to catch the new ingredient specialist so quickly on such a wide scale. And additionally, they probably want us to focus in on Spiritomb, and they want us to have the opportunity to catch more Spiritomb. And if they boosted Trapinch as well, there'd be another thing watering down the spawn pool at Amber Canyon. So, If you don't want to catch Spiritomb because you're not excited for another 16-pip option to go hunt for, then Cyan or Old Gold are your best places, or Top. I didn't even mention Old Gold. Old Gold doesn't have it either, which is interesting because it's a ghost type in the base games. But, yeah, there's also limited time mini candy boost. So, I suggest using as much of this as you can because it is cheaper than the candy boost they do during Christmas. So, if you've been planning around all your investments for Christmas, don't just save your dream shards for that because it's going to be better to use it during this one, as long as you know what your investments are. So, that's really all there is with this event. Look through the list of Pokemon here, and wherever has the most Pokemon that you are interested in catching, that's probably where to go. But if you're interested in Spiritomb, whatever its stats turn out to be, go wherever. Make sure you go somewhere that it spawns, because this is the one and only time where I say that a hunt for a 16-pip option can be a decent decision, just because it's while it's boosted. And greatly boosted as well. It'll probably be boosted again during the New Year's event this year, but it'll probably just be a slightly greater appearance rate with all the other new spawns they've added throughout the entire year. So it's not going to be, like, majorly boosted, or the last half of the year, that is. But anyway, that really is it for this news. It's not too crazy of an event. It's a lot of stuff that we've already had. But if you have enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Down in the description, we'll have a link to join the Discord. You can come join us, hang out, talk about all things Pokemon, Sleep, and the like. A huge, huge thank you to all my channel members. It really means a lot to me that you guys want to show your support financially, despite there being no paid rewards for members. If you too want to become a channel member, then feel free to click that join button down below. And as always, I thank you all for watching and hope that you all have a wonderful day. Bye-bye now.